I am reading now the Divine Illiad I by Walter Russell, and I begin in Volume 1 with the foreword. The message of the Divine Iliad is sent from our Father to give unfolding humanity the needed comprehension for taking the next transforming step in man's long journey from the jungle of sensed awareness of body to cosmic conscious awareness of omnipresent light of God as the centering, motivating force of man. For millions of years, man was unaware of his conscious self. He was but body, expressing the desires of body, constantly seeking that which his body needed, and taking it by his might of physical strength. During those eons of his unfolding, man was totally unaware of his unity with God and mankind. Likewise, he was totally unaware of the universal and inexorable law which governed his every action. Then came the dawn of consciousness. Man began to know. Then he created extensions of his body to do for him what his body could not do. He created a boat to transport his body, then a sail for the boat, then a wheel and fire to warm him and cook the food which he formerly ate raw during the animal stage of his unfolding. Then came the long, savage, and barbarian stages of increasingly complex human relations based upon the jungle principle of taking that which he wanted by the power of might over right. During thousands of years, tribes warred upon other tribes, building themselves into nations and then empires, to gain possession of the wealth and services of other tribes and nations by acquiring their lands and people for ownership and exploitation. Our own United States were thus acquired. We killed without compunction to obtain what we wanted. We stole hundreds of thousands of Negroes and made slaves of them. England, France, the Netherlands, Russia, and other nations multiplied their empires by the sword of the mighty, slaying the weak. Industrial empires came into being as our supposedly highly civilized and enlightened society of humans increased its knowledge and practice of the arts and sciences. Advancement in our cultures and the standard of living continued to deceive us as to our status as civilized beings. We failed to realize that we were illegitimately still practicing the law of the jungle, which takes only what it needs for survival, while man took thousands of times more than he needed for material gain. The jungle kills one at a time for food, but man kills by millions for enslavement and exploitation. Such practices are a normal part of our present standard of civilization. It is difficult to realize that we are still barbarians. A civilization which kills and exploits others for mere gain can hardly call itself civilized. Humans can never justly call themselves civilized until they practice the love principle which God practices in all of his creation. Mankind has reached that stage of his unfolding where he must either learn the facts of inexorable universal law and practice them, or perish by his own hand. He will die by the sword he slays with, unless his entire human relations are reversed from the taking principle to nature's principle of balanced giving for re-giving. Man's scientific skills have made it possible for him to slay his entire race. A continuation of the old barbarian practice of taking, which has bred his many wars of hatred and aggression, will inevitably lead to a war of extinction unless nature's love principle of giving replaces it. Today the world is divided. Disunity marks all human relations, from industry to religion, from capital to labor. Two opposing world ideologies, democracy and communism, stand like insurmountable precipices to debar world unity. Freedom itself is not 2 centuries old. Slavery was existent in our own country within the memory of living men. Through ignorance and superstition, America's colonial intellectuals burned old women at the stake as witches. Mighty empires are still attempting to build themselves into greater empires by the sword. Man is at the crossroads of his unfolding. The old way of life which built his empires of hate and fear must be abandoned. This coming age must be built upon God's one law of balanced interchange in all human relations. There is no other alternative. To continue the old way means the destruction of civilization by multiplied hate. To follow the new path will mean the multiplication of love, which alone will bring peace, happiness, and prosperity to man. Man's comprehension has been limited to the range of his senses. Man is now unfolding beyond the range of material sensing in the direction of cosmic knowing. Science is doing this for him. Science is slowly but surely verifying the personal God of man's demanding and identifying the invisible spiritual personal being of man with the invisible spiritual personal being of God. Science is thus replacing man's abstract God of faith and belief with a dynamic God of law and order whom man knows. The abstract God of faith and belief is the direct cause of man's many religions. For abstractions have bred many concepts of God, where knowledge can conceive but the one. Faith and belief are the shield of ignorance. The message of the Divine Iliad is to build a scientific comprehension of the nature of God and man's unity with God in order that mankind may unfold in the direction of its ultimate goal of cosmic awareness of the light, rather than refold by descending into the terrors of another deep and long dark age. Through love alone can man find the kingdom of heaven for which he has sought since his beginnings. Only through living love as a principle can he find the happiness, peace, and prosperity which lie in his heart as the greatest of his desires. God is the light of all knowing. Creation is a thought-wave universe, which records God's knowing as expressed by God's electric thinking. Walter Russell. The Book of Desire, a Communion. I am in the kingdom of thy heavens, O my Father, Mother. Speak thou to me, lest my words to man be but my words, not thine and mine. Earth is far, I behold it not, know it not. I but sense it afar through flux threads which bind me to it lightly. I know thee only in me, thee, the light of myself, thee, the two lights of my far body, which lie enfolded in my body, awaiting self of it, self of me, self of thee, at its reborning. Deep upon my heart are questionings which I must answer in words for which there are no words. Intent am I upon the pulse beat of thy thinking, O my Father. Extend thou the two interweaving lights of thy thinking to my consciousness, that my knowing shall rightly interpret thy thinking through the pulse beat of my thinking.